we can get started and walk you through what we have for you today. So Kevin, if you want to, yeah, perfect. So we'll really the goal of today's webinar is to give you a pretty comprehensive presentation, understanding of what is the Kitigan Gamik Land-based curriculum that an aggregate of organization and indigenous leaders have been working on for the past two years or so now. So what we'll be covering today will be obviously introduction of the two person here representing the launch of this curriculum today. We'll give you a kind of a background on this initiative and kind of an overview of the reason why it came to be. And then Kevin will take over and give you an overview of the agriculture school program that he has running at Ontario. And we'll walking you through everything there is to know about this the curriculum that is been in part of it for the development and going every grade by grade. And then we'll conclude to walking you through what are kind of next step with this curriculum and presenting you kind of the seminars that we will starting to put in place in the next few weeks. So maybe we can go into introduction. So Kevin, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Florent. And as Florent mentioned, I'm Kevin Van Leggen. I'm a principal in Ontario School. It's a small K-12 school in East Central Alberta. At our school, we run an agriculture program that includes a grocer, actually two grocers now, and I'll get into that more later. I'm also a consultant for BDO Canada, where I do rural development and education consulting. And I played a fairly significant role in the creation of this curriculum with that hat on. So I come at it from a couple of perspectives here today.
And as I mentioned, my name is Florent Schmal. I'm a chief of staff at Grocer and internal project champion for the Kitigan Gamik initiative. A little bit about Grocer. So we are a indoor modular farm solution company based out of Ottawa. We've started almost 10 years ago by deploying the first farm in the Arctic Circle, the first farm growing food in the Arctic Circle. And really our mission is to make growing food sustainably and accessible year-round anywhere in the world. And for that, we develop equipment, support, training, and financing to make this type of farming operation applicable and realistic wherever we want to set them up. And the Kitigan Gamik initiative is a non-profit initiative for Grocer. This is educating people around food and the importance of growing food locally and sustainably has been really part of our DNA since we got started. And when we had the opportunity to be part of this initiative, we really jumped at it, and we're really excited to share it with you today. So I'll give you a little background on the initiative. It all started under the leadership of at the time Grand Chief of Manitoba, Chief Derek Napenak, currently sitting Chief of Pine Creek. And Grocer worked with Chief Napenak during the deployment of one of our farms in Norway House Cree Nation back in 2019. And during the implementation of the farm, Chief Napenak got to see firsthand kind of the impact those farms had around the youth in the community from kind of the interest it generated among them. And that really had like a strong impact for him. And it's really saw this type of agriculture as a way to reconnect the youth into gardening. And I think he's experienced kind of the loss of the gardening practices from his grandmother to him and to his children. And that's really something he's been championing for many years. And so through kind of this first experience in Norway House Cree Nation, he had this idea of putting together a group to work on a curriculum that could involve kids from as early as kindergarten all the way to grade 12. And that could really teach the notion of growing food, plant science, but also incorporating indigenous teachings and learning, as well as kind of how do we grow food and adapt in the world of changing climate. So we met with a group of elders and knowledge keeper at the Turtle Lodge in Sakin First Nation in Manitoba in June 2021. to have elder consultation and seek approval for moving forward with this curriculum. And this initiative was well received by the group, and we got the approval to move forward, leading to where we are today. So maybe next slide, Kevin. So really the overview of this initiative is to provide a very applicable hands-on education opportunity around gardening, food security, food sovereignty, sustainability, and also leadership to the younger generation. And we thought that the best way to do so was not only to develop a curriculum, but a really practical hands-on land-based curriculum. And that's what Kevin and the aggregate has been working on. And combining this curriculum with tangible agriculture, like gardening practices, whether it's through a grocery farm or any type of school farm and garden. And today we are very happy to have this available to any school or education facility across the country for free. So an overview of kind of the initiative, kind of aggregate and stakeholders. So I'll start kind of with the organization that sponsored this initiative. So the lead sponsor for this initiative is the RBC Foundation under the Take for Nature program. The RBC has been very focused into clean initiative and a greener economy, as well as skill development and youth empowerment. So when we presented the initiative following the elder consultation at the Turtle Lodge to them in the summer 2021, they really jumped at the opportunity to be to help us make this vision a reality. And along the way, we've worked with the Ottawa Community Foundation, BDO, Canadian Field of Children, and Grocer to really help or kind of bring everything, all the elements needed for the creation of this curriculum. But then the true kind of champion of those projects are those that actually had worked on the curriculum. And we had Joseph Naito-Ho, who's an indigenous storyteller and a songwriter, and has developed a very engaging and emotional story around growing food in a changing climate, and you're going to hear this story firsthand during this webinar. We also had the opportunity to work with Dr. Kevin Lewis, who's been involved in education and in food sovereignty for a long time. Of course, Chief Napenak was involved in the process, and on the educator side, Laura Johnson, supported by Kevin Van Lagen, working on leading the development of the curriculum. So with many other people, this is the kind of the group that together worked pretty hard over the last 2 years in time of COVID, and to really bring this curriculum together.
Good, thanks, Florent. And to just give you a little bit of background as to why I became involved in developing this curriculum. In 2017, Ontario School decided to focus on an agriculture type academy where students had the opportunity to learn more about our agriculture heritage. We weren't really sure at that time where it would lead to. But today in 2024, it's grown significantly. Maybe some of you have heard of it. But what we have is a student-led farm where students in grades 7 through 12 are in management positions of the farm, are able to make decisions for the farm as long as they're educational and sustainable. And then students in K through 6 are also involved, as you see here on the picture. And we have many aspects of the farm. I'll go through that fairly quickly, the different components, until we get to the Kitigan Gamik side of things. One of the reasons for us to do this was to increase our program of studies, more options for our students in our small K-12 school. And when I say small, we have about 60 students total. And we were actually, decreasing in size, and we knew we had to do something to change that trajectory. So the smallest we've been is 49, and we're actually growing somewhat now. And it's been a really successful thing. Another reason to start an agriculture program for us was career pathways in agriculture. We had students that they knew they wanted to get into farming, and they didn't really realize the many opportunities in the agriculture industry. They would all go to the same college for the same program. And when I questioned them after they graduated, why did you take that program? I was like, well, that's all I thought was available. And many of them would, once they got to college, realize they wanted something a little different. So we tried to get them to explore different opportunities in agriculture at an earlier age. And then not knowing when we started this, our program has created food security for our community. We're rural and remote, so our closest grocery store is 50 kilometers away. And now we're supplying our community with a lot of the fresh food that they've come to enjoy. So as I mentioned, we're student-led. Our student leaders all got together and bought these coats. You can see there, we have a barn actually on the school property with a bunch of different animals. And our students do a great job. Each day they come to school in the morning, and the leaders have it all organized. So we begin our school day with chores. And once we're done the chores, we actually eat breakfast as a school, and then we start our regular day. Very successful, of course, and it's a great way to teach responsibility, but also, to teach different aspects of the curriculum. And then throughout the day, we have times in our schedule where students can focus on agriculture related pursuits, whatever that may be. And it's anything from, hey, we want to build a shelter, to I want to do research on something, and we work with them and we allow them to do those things. So here's some examples. We raise turkeys each year for Christmas. We have cow-calf pairs. We have sheep. An interesting story. So to kind of give you a flavor of how our program works, we received some bottle lambs from Lakeland College out of Vermilion. They donated it to our program, and they grew into sheep, and they ended up having lambs. And then we had more lambs, and we started getting quite the sheep flock. And our students became concerned that there was too many sheep out there, and they didn't really want that many sheep. So I came to school after having missed the day, and they came out to me, the student leaders, and said, we made a decision yesterday. We traded 4 lambs for 6 sheep, or for 6 pigs. And again, an example of how student-led we actually are. My question was, okay, where are we putting these pigs? And they said, oh, we have a plan. We're going to build it. We have enough stuff out there. We can build the pen ourselves. It's not going to cost anything, and we're going to get into the pig business. So we do have pigs now. We have 9 pigs today. They're off to the butcher on April the 12th. Last year, we took one of our pigs at the end of the year, and we had a pig roast on the last day of school as a celebration. So the pigs actually have been a very successful endeavor. Not all of our endeavors on our farm have been successful. We got into quail. They kept on escaping, and some stray cats kept on eating them. So we got out of quail. So the students get to explore and try different things on the farm, and it's a great success that way. Here's another example. This is actually our 4, 5, 6 students take care of the bees that we have, and then they extract the honey and they bottle it, and they make chapstick and different things out of the honey as well. So we give them different opportunities that they like to explore, and each year we allow them to kind of go in different directions. So it's not just the same old. So it's new and it's exciting, and it's something that they're actually passionate about. We've done like bottle calves in the past. Right now we're doing broiler chickens instead of turkeys. We have laying hens. We have different animals in it, and it gets down to, if there's a student that's passionate about something, we try to make it work for them, and we go down that path. One thing that we're doing that's a little bit exciting and a little more high level this year is we have some students that decided they wanted to get into show cattle. They want to travel across Western Canada showing a purebred Charolais animal. And they're working with a former student to do embryo transplants of purebred Charolais cattle. So they'll be calving here in January. And so they're learning that whole process of embryo transplants and choosing which lineage of animal they want to use for that. And so we're pretty excited about that. And we have some students that really, really enjoy this project that we're doing. And then another one that we're doing, again, in the spirit of career pathways, in the spirit of exploring things and working with the community. We're doing some research on growing animal feed indoors to see if it's economically feasible, and if there's a rate of gain in animals that's acceptable. For those of you from Alberta, you know that maybe some of the other provinces, water is a large concern in our province right now, and the drought, the ongoing drought. So hopefully this may be a solution that we can explain to the industry. And we have industry very interested in this, and even the provincial government interested in this right now to see if this works. So that's our program, in a big overview. But one part of our program that I'd like to focus on today is our grocer. So some years ago, I was introduced to Florent by a member of the BDO team, and Florent explained to me what a grocer was, and I thought it was interesting. We ended up applying for some grants, and we ended up getting some money together, and we got our first grocer. I didn't really know the ins and outs of the grocer at that time. And thankfully, you can see on the picture here, the lady to the right beside Daryl there, that's my wife. She decided that she was interested in, and she took training on how to operate a grocer, and she's kind of our lead at the grocer. And as you'll see in upcoming slides, she organizes students and keeps things going. So we got our grocer. It's been fully operational 2 or 3 years now. And this week we're commissioning a second grocer, which is a classroom model. It has a little more space for people in there. We're going to be, allowing our students to do some experiments and try things. And we also hope to host many people to come for training on how to operate a school farm like ours. So as I mentioned, it's very important to us as a school that we focus on students, and that all what we're doing is educational and students first. So our students are very, very involved in the grocer. We have a schedule on the bulletin board here in school, and we have students kind of each day going to the grocer for different tasks, and they're very competent and capable. The 2 students on the left here, they actually ran the grocer on their own last summer, and they were both 16 at the time, and they did a phenomenal job. So with the right training and the right education, it's amazing what students can do. So they harvested and they sold and they seeded, they planted, they did everything. It was a great experience for them when we were able to pay them for that, and just set them up for the future very, very well. So what do we do with the produce? Right now, we're running a subscription model. We do 30 subscriptions each week. So families get the subscription on a bi-weekly basis. So we're serving 60 families in our community and in the surrounding communities, actually. And we have a long waiting list. So we're excited for this next grocer to start operating, because we'll easily sell the product, and we whatever is not sold, if we have extra from the subscription, we have a little store at the school that the students operate. So they sell it there, and if there's even more, the Provost Lodge, the Seniors Lodge takes it and pays for it. So we never have any waste, and actually we have actually 0 waste in this whole project, because any roots or anything we actually feed to the pigs. So we don't throw anything in the garbage. So we're a complete cycle. And then we sometimes will grow for fundraisers, if there's fundraisers in the community or beyond, or for different events, we'll especially grow for that. And that's been very successful. Now, we sell approximately $700 a week in produce. And I put a bunch of stars there because it should be about $1,100-$1,200 a week, but we sell it very cheap. Because our purpose is not first and foremost making money, our purpose is education. And we feel like the price we've set is giving back to the community that has greatly supported our program. But that's just context for everyone here today. And again, I cannot emphasize enough the education part. This is just a fun picture, and you can show these boys here. This is a picture from last year. They were all in grade 5. So you can see we have different age groups operating and working in the grocer. So we look at the different career pathways, whether it's the technology, the agriculture, the entrepreneurial skills, or retail. And we have students that are, they're not really interested in the animals, but they love the hydroponics. We have some that are not really interested in either, but they love the retail or the social media presence. So we find stuff that they're interested in, and that's the position that they secure for the year, and they run with it. And some do better than others, and that's our job as teachers to work with them. The thing that has happened for us as a community, once we got the grocer and people tasted the product, they absolutely fell in love with it. And people joke kind of that they're lettuce snobs out here now. When they go to restaurants and stuff, they're not impressed with the lettuce compared to what they get from the school. But it's affordable, it's nutritious, it's fresh, it's local. We harvest either Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, and by Wednesday afternoon, it can be on people's plates. And that's a big, in the past, produce for us, it had been harvested somewhere, it sat in a warehouse, it got on a truck, it was driven to a grocery store where it was very expensive and, had about a 1 week lifespan moving forward, in your fridge. And now people can pick up their produce and they're telling us at least 4 weeks, no problem. It stays fresh in their fridge. And so they're very happy that way as well. And we do run at a profit, our program. So each year we hand out about $10,000 to $15,000 in scholarships to our student leaders based on the profitability of the farm. So I kind of jokingly say our kids get paid to come to school, which is a neat feature. So kind of the farm, and I truthfully can talk about our farm for an hour or two, but that's not the whole purpose of this webinar. So in that light, having built an agriculture program, having a grocer, I was approached to see if I'd be interested in help developing the curriculum. And truthfully, at first I resisted a little bit. I said, I'm not the person, and people were persistent, and they said, no, we think you are the person. So eventually I did get involved. And it was probably the best professional development of my career, because I got to sit with elders and knowledge keepers and hear the stories and the wisdom and the beliefs and the traditions and the language that they had to share. And truthfully, that was my role in all of this. Laura Johnson, a member from the BDO team and a professor from PEI, she facilitated and she, got the conversation flowing. And I would sit back mostly and record and try to take what I was hearing and putting it into a workable format for teachers and for students. So in that process, it was just so valuable to be able to sit, kind of, at the feet of the elders, so to speak, and hear the stories that they had to share. And the one that stuck out for me was from Matilda, where she spoke about her grandmother who had a large garden, and it flourished. And when the Indian agent saw it, she was told, "You're not going to get the money that I have for you. I'm giving it to your neighbor who doesn't have a garden." And in so doing, she quit having the garden. And there's some generations, all the elders and knowledge keepers spoke about this, how there's a generation or two or three even, with the policies that Canada had with the residential schools, and with Indian agents like that, where they lost their ability or their understanding of growing their own food. And then there's a genuine desire from the elders to return to children knowing where their food comes from and knowing how to harvest their food, whether it's hunting a buffalo or whether it's growing a garden and so forth. So really, when we began this process, the first day or two, we didn't really record much. It was just letting the elders speak to how important this work was, that we created this. And so the curriculum that we're sharing today, it's for First Nation students, and it's for non-First Nation students. It can be taken in any way. The majority of the resources are Cree. There's some Anishinaabe as well, but we try to structure it in a way that teachers can take the local stories from from the local First Nations tribe and use it and implement it into the curriculum in a way that's seamless. So, and I think remember Kevin speaking to me about how much hope he has for the next generation to be independent, to be self-sufficient, to be able to take care of the food on their own terms. And that the whole process of developing this curriculum took well over a year, and many weekends that we spent together in Saskatchewan having these conversations. And sometimes the conversations were tough, and and we weren't sure which direction to go. But it was so nice by the end to hear that story of hope and the satisfaction that we had with the end result. So one of the things that the elders in particular struggled with was the idea that the Creator gave seasons, created seasons, and there's a season for growing and there's a season for not growing. There's a season for harvesting, and there's seasons that you don't harvest. And something like a vertical farm or a grocer, whatever it may be, growing indoors, actually goes against what the Creator gave. And yet we have this opportunity with vertical farming and hydroponics to mimic the seasons. And is that okay? Is that what the Creator wanted for us, so to speak, and for His people? So Joseph Nato-Howe, an incredible storyteller, wrote a story called Seed Growth. And in it, and we're going to listen to the story here right away. In it, he delves into how the Creator is giving this type of growing as a solution, so that First Nations people can have food security and ultimately food sovereignty. That it's a response to climate change, it's a response to where they live at times where it's not possible to grow all their own food. And when they're turning are forced to turn to other sources of food, and often unhealthy food, and often food that's contributes to high levels of diabetes and other health concerns. This is a solution that the Creator has provided. So I'm going to, I just have to change how I'm sharing here so I can get you to listen to this story. Joseph has an incredible voice you will hear here.
In the beginning, humans had plenty of food to live on. All that they needed to survive and be happy was provided by the land and rains from the sky. Two nations of people were living side by side during this time: the Wapis and Osawis nations. There was a prophecy known within the Osawis. Stories are told of two nations that would sit in council to prepare them of the difficult days ahead. In this meeting, they would work together to create a new way of life using the knowledge of the land from their respective elders. There was also a prophecy that a young girl would be born to help guide the way. The time came when a child was born on a beautiful spring day in the Osawis community. To be born in the springtime is special to the Osawis people. The parents who birthed this little child asked an elder to name her. The elder, inspired by spirit, gave the child the name Kitigan Iskwesis. It meant growing seed girl. In time, Kistigan Iskwesis would grow strong and tall. That is when the prophecy would be realized. This was also the time that Wapis and Osawis nations were beginning to experience changes to the earth. Things were becoming difficult for their people. One night, Kistikan Iskwesis had a dream. In this dream, Kistikan Iskwesis was walking and came to a crossroads where she met one of the guardians of the Nihiwak nation. This guardian was named Kitigan Gamik. The Nihia way of being is to be gifted with guidance to enter onto your next journey on Mother Earth. Kistikan would help see which direction one must take. Now it was known that Kistikan Iskwesis had been raised in two worlds, indigenous and non-indigenous. Or you could say Osawas and Wapis. Her hair was braided like her grandmother, one braid on either side. Kistikan Iskwesis knew what the three separate strands of hair for her braids meant. It was her connection to the three spirit helpers: sun, water, and nature. Bisim, Nipi, Ekwa, Kikawi Noa Ski. Kistigan Iskwesis also knew the way of the Mistigusuinog, or people who traveled by boat from a distant land. These people brought another way of life to their territory. Kistigan Iskwesis knew both the indigenous and non-indigenous paths she'd been raised in and was now prepared to undertake the journey to understand how to make these two worlds work together. When Kistikan saw Kistigan Iskwesis, he noticed that she had long braided hair. Kistikan pointed to the road on the left and told her to go and see if that was where she needed to be. Skipping down the road, Kistigan Iskwesis looked forward to what she might learn from the people she'd meet there. When she finally arrived at her destination, to her surprise, she saw that all the young girls also had beautiful long braids. That made her very happy. She then spoke in the language of the Mistigusuinuak, but was surprised to learn that they didn't understand what she was saying. Kistigan Iskwesis was saddened. The language that she'd learned through her childhood, but she had been so busy learning the language of her new friends. Not only had she learned their language, but the ways they went about working with the three spirit helpers: sun, water, and nature. Bisim, Nipi, Ekwa, Kikawi no Aski. What she saw on the first road were ceremonies that played a role in all of life's activities, from food harvesting and storage to community and sharing. If she was to understand how that world honored their relationship to Mother Earth, she needed to return to Kistikan and receive more guidance. Kistigan Iskwesis walked back to see Kistikan. She was deep in thought as she looked down upon her mother, the earth. Kistikan saw Kistigan Iskwesis, and he immediately pointed to the road on his right. He was hopeful that this road would be the one Kistigan Iskwesis might best follow. Walking slowly and cautiously, Kistigan Iskwesis went off to see if this was the place for her. When she arrived, the girls in this community who came to greet her didn't wear braids like she did. This puzzled her at first. Then they greeted her in the English language she'd learned while living among the Mistigusuinuak, people from across the water. That made Kistigan Iskwesis very happy. She reflected upon her previous journey, where the girls spoke in the language of her upbringing. The language she knew, 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 the language she k had something to do with the way they understood the land. This second road showed her a way of being with the Mother Earth that was unlike the way she saw on her first journey. For example, she saw large parcels of land cleared and crops of what looked like sweetgrass or the sweetgrass her grandparents harvested. Water was also kept in huge nest-like structures that reached toward the sky and could magically be transported into their dwellings. It was not like the rain or spring water she would fetch and carry back to her grandparents' buffalo skin-covered lodge where she'd grown up. Iskwesis knew each of these two worlds had teachings about Mother Earth, and that her name, which meant the growing seed girl, had something to do with understanding how these two worldviews would work together. Iskwesis returned to Kistikan and said to him, "Even though I look like the girls on the road to your left, we don't speak the same language. On the other road to the right, we don't look alike, but we understand each other. I must return back home to recreate a way of knowing how to understand Mother Earth from my dream. I must return to my people." Iskwesis' dream held clues as to how she was to find a new way to work with Mother Earth and all that she provides to people. Iskwesis knew to bring these two ways of thinking and doing together. Her name, Kistikan, also meant that seeds have a role in this new way of surviving into the future. Iskwesis was told by her own community about the difficulties ahead on Mother Earth. The elders in particular knew and could foresee into the future. She was told of all the elements of fire, water, earth, and wind increasing their impact on life forms due to humans' lack of understanding of the laws of nature. This impact would be in the form of great flooding, more tornadoes, more fires, and earth shaking. Iskwesis understood this to mean forests, waters, earth changes, and drought would severely affect all beings of survival, or how to survive. She was also told that it was time for young people to work with the adults and elders. Yahweh, 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 hey, hey, Yahweh, Yahweh.
There you have, excuse me, the story from Joseph. Again, great storyteller, and I think an important understanding of the whole concept of the struggle to create food security and food sovereignty. So to the curriculum itself, you know, an overview in a large sense, and we'll share the entire curriculum with you to see. But basically what we tried to do in kindergarten to grade 6, we called it planting seeds for tomorrow's harvest, is we tried to introduce the stories. We tried to introduce the growing cycle, the basic understanding of seed time and harvest, so to speak. You know, there's curriculum objectives, there's you know, important learnings, and there's exemplars of what to do in kindergarten to grade 6. So the idea behind kindergarten to grade 6 is you can either infuse it into other curricular areas, or you can have it as a standalone unit, so to speak, and work that way. In grades 7 to 9, we called it cultivating leaders. And that's really where we have students involved in a growing project. And I should really clarify for you that you don't need a grocer in order to utilize this curriculum. You may have a community garden, you may have garden towers, you may have a variety of different growing methods. And a grocer isn't, imperative to have one. It's kind of fun to have one. It's a good link. But the grade 7s to 9s are really about operating and working in the garden setting, whatever that garden setting may be. And then the grade 10 to 12, we call growing resiliency. And that's really about mentorship, where they'll be mentoring the 7 to 9s. They'll be showing them how to do things, but they'll also be able to, start their own little businesses, micro businesses, teach them entrepreneurial skills, teach them what to do with the product that they've grown over that they're growing in 7 to 9 and so forth. So the 7 to 9, they can be integrated into classroom learning, or they can be standalone modules where students can pursue the different areas of interests and work there. The 7 to 12 really is built closely to what we're doing in Ontario School with our entire agriculture program, and developing those leaders and developing the leadership team. So there's a lot of similarities there as well. Now, when we built the curriculum, we're trying to look at the whole child framework. We learned from the elders about the importance of the 3 poles of the teepee to align with obedience, respect, and humility. They reinforce one another like a family. In the case of this curriculum, the 3 poles reinforce the whole child framework, and the 3 parts to the curriculum are the indigenous ways of knowing and learning, the 7 sacred teachings, and the 4 quadrant competency wheel. And I can show you that in the curriculum itself. So at this time, I'm going to actually open the document of the curriculum. We'll go through some of the outcomes, some of the lesson plans, and then I'll show you some of the resources that we've been developing to help out in this respect as well. Hopefully you can see that. It's big. So the document that you'll receive looks much like this. It's 82 pages long. So there's a lot in there, and there's a lot. We put a lot of content, so you don't have to try to scramble to create your own. The Derek Nepanak, the current chief of Pine Creek, wrote an introduction about the importance of this curriculum, and then we go through the acknowledgements, which we already spoke of. There's a table of contents, and here's what I was talking about right here, the whole child framework, where we're looking at the self-awareness, belonging, and contributing, well-being, food sustainability, and the environment, critical thinking and problem solving, and then innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So we're really hoping that through this curriculum, if we follow this through, we create very resilient, capable, independent, entrepreneurial. We help to create those type of students and those type of community members. I already explained this, how we have set up the curriculum from kindergarten to 6, 7 to 9, and then 10 through 12. And then the story that Joseph told to us today is actually written right in the curriculum, so you can refer to it. I love listening to Joseph's voice and hearing him tell the story. I find it powerful, but it is whatever works. Again, the curriculum overview, and then the indigenous ways of learning and knowing. Dr. Kevin Lewis talked about how everything begins in the home fire, and that's where we start. And if the home is strong, that's because that's where you learn to cook, live, and learn. And I think what we've tried to do, even though we're doing the traditional K-12 thing, is to recognize that it's not always about the way we view education, but it's the way Dr. Kevin Lewis and Joseph and Derek and stuff view education, and the importance of family and elders and bringing elders in and knowledge keepers and learning from them. Of course, the 7 sacred teachings are a huge component of First Nations culture that we included in this curriculum. And then finally, the whole child framework that I mentioned already. That's kind of what we've built everything on. So that's the kind of the forward to the curriculum. For those from Alberta, it's kind of similar to our current social studies curriculum, how you build out from some competencies and grow that. So kindergarten to grade 6, the whole planting seeds for tomorrow's harvest. We divided that into 2 parts, kindergarten to grade 3, where you can, we talk a lot about expression, creativity, collecting things, different, telling stories, listening to stories, and really just exploring on a very basic level the traditional culture, teachings, beliefs, and understandings of Indigenous communities. We also, emphasize the importance of that they start to understand themselves and become less egocentric, understand what's right and wrong, understanding the relationship with the land is really what underpins all of this. So if we look at kindergarten in particular, understanding the relationship and responsibility to Mother Earth. We're looking at awareness and understanding of plants and the growing season, the plant life cycle, understanding our connectivity to all things, how we relate to all things. We introduce sweetgrass and the importance of sweetgrass, and then just the connectedness to nature and to another, the circle of life. And then you'll see in here how we have the whole child framework, and here we go, the self-awareness, belonging, and contributing. There's our learning activities and examples. Awareness, belonging, and contributing continued, then the well-being, food sustainability, and environment. There's our learning and examples. And then finally, under creativity, thinking and problem solving, we put a project in there. And then each one of the curriculum or the grade levels, we have a capstone where, what can we do to kind of celebrate the end of the year. And in the case of kindergarten, students share traditional songs. Maybe they do that in a conversation with elders that the elders can respond. And again, if we're looking at the grocer or your whatever growing method you're looking at, we're looking at the introduction to the root, the leaf, stem, and the leaves, and the lips of the plants. So that's kindergarten, and I'll try to give a quick overview of the other grades as well. But hopefully, by seeing how we set that up, this continues grade to grade to grade. So grade 1, we're looking at the sun and light for life. The basic understanding of photosynthesis, planting and growing. Explore the many ways people meet their needs from nature and the land, and understand the connection between the moon and the calendar for seasons of growth. So there's the whole introduction to seasons and how we grow in certain seasons. And then again, we divide it up into the different, the whole child framework with different learning examples and lesson ideas, right to critical thinking and problem solving. And we end again with the capstone project, in this case, the bonfire evening, where again, we can look at the constellations and whatnot. So we've really tried to put it in a way for teachers that they can grab it and use it. And I'll show some more things that I've created in the meantime. And again, you can always bring your gardening or your grocer or whatever project, hydroponic project into this curriculum in the way that you you're able to. Grade 2, we're looking at traditional ceremonies. We're going to practice some more growing and planting, and we're going to start to understand the 4 elements that are used in ceremony: rock, wind, fire, and water. And then we go through and give, again, learning examples. And we end with a pipe ceremony, community gathering. Again, everyone has different comfort levels with ceremony, but we felt it important to share that this is the opportunity that someone would absolutely embrace. And the elders really believed and felt that it's so important to bring ceremony into the curriculum in this way. And it has to be done very mindfully and very with the proper protocol, of course, but that's all included in this. And then grade 3, we're introducing traditional relationships between flora, fauna, and fungi. We're starting to understand local indigenous people's protocols and practices. And then we're going to acknowledge and identify in grade 3 how colonization can affect the knowledge of and use of traditional, local traditional indigenous people's medicines, food, and water resources. So this is where we introduce that, this is what we taught, this is what we were taught years ago, and what we believed and how we lived. And now this has changed, partially due, or largely due to colonization. So again, we go into learning activities and examples on the whole child. The capstone project here is a harvest, and for students to host the harvest meal and collect the sage sweetgrass for the community. And the recommendation is you begin the meal with a smudge. Again, the whole part of ceremony, and then we go into what you can do in your own budget. So grade 4, we're looking at small life forms, water and sky, life and land. We're looking at insects, all the importance of how that type of life connects to land-based learning and land-based growing. Capstone project here is a community earth walk, and you can build off that where students share their knowledge of tracking and explain local animal patterns, past and present, for example, and go from there. Grade 5, humanity, voice, and values. We're starting to look at our relationships, roles, and responsibilities to one another and our environment. How local indigenous knowledge is provided a voice, and the importance of the values that are transmitted generation to generation. And then the 7 sacred teachings are a large component of grade 5. And we talked about the TP Talking Circle as a capstone project. And you can do this on a large scale, and you can do it on a small scale. All of these are whatever the comfort level and the resource level and the abilities of the teacher or whoever's utilizing this curriculum. Grade 6, we introduce them to the grocer and the concepts of food security and food sovereignty. So you can see how we've built just an understanding of the seasons, the understanding of growing, the understanding of our relationship to the land. And now we're getting to the point of, okay, now here's the grocer or whatever garden project you have. And here's what food security means. And here's what food sovereignty means. Very important year, grade 6, and it's kind of a culmination of all things from K to 5. And again, we under innovation, we're talking about creating, think of creative ideas and innovation of how could you solve food scarcity issues and so forth. And we have a harvesting and sharing of plants with the elders. And to do that traditionally as well, where we're looking at some medicinal sweetgrass, sage, some kind of community ceremony, and really it's genuinely a capstone of K to 6. Okay, grade 7 to 9 under cultivating leaders, and grade 7, 8, and 9 you'll see here. We're gonna look in grade 7 more of exploration with the self. Grade 8, exploration with the two-legged, so with others, and then grade 9, exploration with the community. And in there, you can see in the red, here's the part where we have students actively involved in growing in whatever facility or opportunity they have. So, you know, if you can see that in grade 7, we're including career explorations, we're including financial literacy, you know, the leader in you and the gifts, the healthy gifts you have, you know, relationships, you know, some traditional cooking, textiles. Like we're really trying to get it hands-on and actually doing more so than just understanding. And same thing with grade 8, where we're starting to do the whole mentorship, understand what mentorship is with the high school. And each of grade 7, 8, and 9, we're looking at creating a land-based excursion, because the writers of the curriculum really felt it was important that students, you know, connect with the land in a meaningful way. And it's not just a theory or an idea they're hearing in the classroom, but they're actually going out and doing it. So again, you know, grade 7, 8, and 9 are set up somewhat like modules, but you can see, you know, some of the big objectives where we're introducing planning, we're introducing the growing cycle within the grocer in this context, you know, introducing the roles and responsibilities. So similar to what we're doing in Ontario, where our students in grade 7 become leaders. They understand what their roles and responsibilities are in relation to feeding the pigs. This is in relation to how you know, take care of the growing cycle in the grocer. We're starting to introduce them to high school mentors and starting to build that camaraderie, you know, and they're starting to supply and produce for the local community, so forth. And then they're developing entrepreneurial skills throughout all of this. And as you can see there, you know, there again, there's the whole child, innovation, the creativity and entrepreneurship. And then we created in this area some supplemental learnings because it's more modular based, where you can, you know, dig into all these different concepts and ideas. So hopefully it's extensive enough that it's very user friendly, so to speak. Grade 8, just again participate in the grocer. Continue, like, build on what you've done in grade 7, the roles, responsibilities, supply produce for or to the local community, and really start to develop some entrepreneurial skills and exploring career pathways. And this, you know, the units again build off of what we've done in grade 8. Sorry, there's grade 8 again. Grade 9, oh sorry, I have to go back here one. Grade 8, there's our different modules that you could divide up into if you wanted to, your lessons or your planning units, and it gives you a pretty nice pathway forward. Grade 9, again, grocer operational planning and setup. So they're getting a little bit more involved in how do we do this, and we're going to plan, and we're going to make sure everything's organized. So you're going to see 7, 8, and 9, they really build on each other. And then if you can see here, we have the different modules again for grade 9 that you can utilize moving forward. And we have some learning examples and whatnot with them. So some supplementary learnings under you could do some communication and land-based excursion again. And again, just building on those land-based experiences. And finally, grade 10 to 12, growing resiliency, the mentorship side of things. You can see here, we're in grade 10, we're talking about grocer mentorship, and we're starting a business incubator where students are going to start exploring little business ideas. And then grade 11, they are the guide. So there's lots of mentorship. They're taking things. And then grade 12 is let's celebrate everything that we have going in our school, and we can go from there. So I think, you know, the curriculum, you know, whether you're a K to 12 school, whether you're a 7 to 12 school, you're a 10 to 12 school, there's opportunity to utilize it as well with these divisions that we've created. So underneath grade 10, we're going to introduce mentorship. We're going to develop the tools. We're going to teach kids how to be mentors. Often we do that in education. I know I've made that mistake of saying, hey, you're now a mentor, and they have no idea what being a mentor means. And then they're going to participate in the mentorship cycle. There we go under learning objectives on how to the entrepreneurship or the social enterprise incubator program. We've laid that out and how to create that with a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of ways to be successful in there. And then the grade 11s are the ones really doing the mentorship in a big way. They're working with the younger students. And then in grade 12, we get to, continuing this and participating in the mentorship cycle, but also celebrating it and really, whether it's a portfolio or whether it's a showcase of all the work that they have accomplished over the years in their work. So that's the curriculum document that you receive. Now, on top of that, I've created a folder that we will continue. Can you see that folder right now, Flo, there?
I can see the folder in your desktop window, but yeah.
Yeah, so and in this folder, I'm building things of current events and stuff that you can bring into your classroom. We're building, I've collected a bunch of curricular resources that are kind of grade and subject specific, creating lists for field trips and experiences, and then some foundational knowledge and just all kinds of background. I'm just collecting. I haven't built it all. I've collected some of it. I've built some of it. And then finally, I've started creating lesson plans in relation to Kitigan Gamik in particular. You can see that, right? So you can go into the lesson plans and you can see different lesson plans, grade 1 through 12, or kindergarten through 12, sorry, and so forth, right? So as I continue to develop this, and I have my teachers are starting to build some of this as well as we're piloting some of the Kitigan Gamik in the school this year. We'll just continue to grow this and grow this and grow this into a bigger folder. But again, something to be shared, something to work around, and something that you can really use as a resource. And then further in the school, we've begun to collect artifacts, which we have boxes and boxes and boxes of artifacts now that we can, if you visit our school, we'll share, and items that you can use, as well as a large library of literature and student stories that you can read that teach so many of these concepts that are present in Kitigan Gamik. So with that being said, and I never know how much to share and how much not to share, but I don't want to bore everyone either. I'm not sure, what are you seeing now? You see the slideshow again, Flora?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And we have a question. So yeah, feel free. You have a Q&A box at the bottom. And Wanda, thank you so much for sharing question and comment. So I've just replied to your question around the website, and you're asking if we've done a presentation at the Mighty Peace Teacher Convention in March in Grand Prairie. We have not for this purpose, but Kevin, I don't know if you're familiar with this convention.
I presented at the Mighty Peace Convention last year. It wasn't all about Kitigan Gamik, though. It was just about the school farm here in Ontario. So I'm not sure if that's what she's referring to. But at this point, there's no plan on being there. But we'd always be happy to come.
Thank you. And feel free to drop your question or raise your hand. I can enable, I think, your mic. But we'll continue the presentation.
So, well, this is you.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin, for this very thorough review of the curriculum. And I think really the idea for us in this project is to make it as accessible and quote unquote turnkey as possible for educators to bring this curriculum into classroom. And that's really kind of the last piece of work that Kevin is working on, and he was describing the folder is, being able to have off-the-shelf resources that you can integrate. to make it as easy as possible for educators. And we want to, like, our goal and vision for this project is to really reach as many students from indigenous or non-indigenous schools with those what we believe important teachings. So we want to go beyond developing a curriculum and actually kind of putting almost concretely in the hands of educators. So we will be launching a series of seminars, in-person seminars, starting this year at the Alterio school, led by Kevin. So those will be 2-day seminars where educators, teachers will be invited to come and join. And during these 2 days, it will be a deep dive into the curriculum, similar to today, but I think in a much more granular way, and kind of really overview of the resources that will be then handed over to educators at the end of the seminars, and then really hands-on experience in the farm. And kind of learning how a hydroponic farm kind of works. But once again, like all the principle around growing food that will be kind of showcased in the Alterio farm can be applicable to any other ways of growing food. And we are exploring ways on how we can provide garden of different size to school as well under this program. So all of those seminars will be free to attend for educators. We will be happy to take care of travel costs, housing costs. Once again, to really make it as as easy and as accessible as possible for this curriculum to really spread. We are expecting the first seminar to take place toward the end of May, early June. We want, based on kind of putting a first group together, like we're still a bit kind of flexible on the date, but we want to have one before the end of the school year, and then maybe fine tune it and tweak it to have then another one in the new school year starting September, and then from there having them on a recurring basis in Alterio and hopefully over the next 2 years in different centers across Canada. But really, Alterio is going to be the training ground where we really want this seminar to be as impactful and efficient as possible for educators. So if this is of any interest to you or to teachers and educators in your network or in your organization, you have both Kevin email and my email, and I'm realizing you have my personal email here, not my grocery email. Late night work, I apologize, but my email is florent@thegrocer.ca. This one also works, and we'll be happy to kind of share more information around that first seminar. It will be capacity constraint. Final number probably around the 10 or so participant, probably max will because there is limited housing capacity in the Alterio community because it's quite rural. But yeah, we're very keen into working with you in bringing your educators or yourself to those webinars, to those seminars. Sorry. Yeah, I think now we can really open the floor for questions. Wenda, thank you. I think you mentioned if we're still in contact with the Mighty Peace Teachers Convention. I don't know if you're still in active contact with them, Kevin, but we will be happy to be reconnected with them. And if you see kind of a value for this curriculum to be shared at any convention or conference, like we will be happy to present it. Once again, this is a purely non-profit initiative for all the aggregate, and really our goal is to reach as many youth and students across Canada as possible with the learning coming from this curriculum. So I don't know if there is any other question. If not, we will follow up with all of you with the actual curriculum itself. We are finalizing development of the resources, the lesson plan that comes with each of the grade that Kevin will go through. But we will inform everybody on any development in regards to the seminars and additional resources that will be built around this initiative. All right. Well, if there is no further question, I want to thank you all for attending today's session. Thank you, Kevin, for all the championship leadership and hard work you've put into bringing all those concepts and teachings and stories into actionable and practical learnings. We absolutely can't wait to see it implemented in tons of schools across Canada, and see what where the little seed girl story goes and grows. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.